And some of the talks of Abdu'l-Baha, he does state that man has always existed. And we're going to look at a passage. But I want to give a counter instance, because again, we're trying to be comprehensive with the quotes that we're using. So this is from Some Answered Questions.
The spirit of man has a beginning, but it has no end. It continues eternally. In the same way, the species existing on this earth are phenomenal, for it is established that there was a time when these species did not exist on the surface of the earth. Moreover, the earth has not always existed, but the world of existence has always been, for the universe is not limited to this terrestrial globe.
If anyone tells you the Baha'i writings state that mankind biologically has always existed, that is patently false. Abdu'l-Baha states very clearly that there was a time when the species didn't exist, and this planet didn't even exist. Okay? Why I started this as the statement, what is man, is because this is what has caused a great deal of misunderstandings in people reading the Baha'i writings, particularly the talks of Abdu'l-Baha. And it's because there are times when he is using the term man to refer to different things. We're going to look at a passage like this, once again, from Some Answered Questions.
The reflection of the divine perfections appears in the reality of man, so he is the representative of God, the messenger of God. If man did not exist, the universe would be without result, for the object of existence is the appearance of the perfections of God. Therefore, it cannot be said that there was a time when man was not. All that we can say is that this terrestrial globe at one time did not exist, and at its beginning, man did not appear upon it. But from the beginning which has no beginning to the end which has no end, a perfect manifestation always exists. This man of whom we speak is not every man. We mean the perfect man. For the noblest part of the tree is the fruit, which is the reason for its existence. If the tree had no fruit, it would have no meaning. Therefore, it cannot be imagined that the world of existence, whether the stars or this earth, were once inhabited by the donkey, cow, mouse, and cat, and that they were without man.
Okay, so that sounds peculiar. On the one hand, it sounds like he says, "Oh, man has always existed, so we've always been here." At the exact same time, he says, we can say that the globe wasn't here, and at the beginning, man didn't appear on it. Because remember, according to Abdu'l-Baha in the passage we've seen, mankind came to be through a series of successive stages by the process of evolution. That's what he stated. That was one of the, I think, the third quote we looked at. But then look at this. He says, but from the beginning which has no beginning to the end which has no end, a perfect manifestation has always existed. This man of whom we speak is not every man, we mean the perfect man. Okay, so this actually isn't even talking about biological organisms at all. We know that because he says that you can't say there was a time when man was not, but then says there was a time when there was no planet and no species. So he's obviously using man in a different sense here, and I would propose he's, in one way he is, in one way he's not, because he is saying there has always been a conscious, self-reflecting, meditative, penetrating the mysteries of the universe being, and he's very clear, a perfect manifestation always exists. We're not speaking of every man, we mean the perfect man. That there has always been in reality a conscious agent, an intellect. And again, this is, well, within religious texts, unequivocally clear. There's always been divine wisdom. There's always been the Logos. There has always been, in this case, the same meaning, the perfect manifestation of God. There has always been conscious reality within the cosmos. I would add here that at the same time, the Baha'i readings seem to be very clear that there has to make it simple for now, throughout our multiverse, conscious beings. Here is gleanings from Baha'u'llah. So this is Baha'u'llah himself.
As to thy question concerning the worlds of God, know thou of a truth that the worlds of God are countless in their number and infinite in their range. None can reckon or comprehend them except God, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Verily I say, the creation of God embraceth worlds besides this world, and creatures apart from these creatures. In each of these worlds he hath ordained things which none can search except himself, the all-searching, the all-wise.
So, creatures capable of rational thought, the power of discovery, the ability to know their creator have always existed according to the Baha'i writings. Thus, the perfect man has always existed, just as a king necessitates having subjects. Else he would not be a king. It is with such an understanding as this that I read quotes like the following.
Now, if we imagine a time when man belonged to the animal world, or when he was merely an animal, we shall find that existence would have been imperfect. That is to say, there would have been no man, and this chief member, which in the body of the world is like the brain and mind in man, would have been missing. When we speak of man, we mean the perfect one, the foremost individual in the world, who is the sum of spiritual and apparent perfections, and who is like the sun among the beings.
So this is one of those quotes that has been cited to me multiple times that has been the source of this confusion, where I meet Baha'is who claim that mankind was never an animal and that we've always been here. Now it's interesting. He says, now if we imagine a time when man belonged to the animal world or was merely an animal, we shall find that existence would have been imperfect. That is to say, there would have been no man. Interesting. And the chief member would have been missing. But then he says again, when we speak of man, we mean the perfect one, the foremost individual in the world, the sum of spiritual and apparent perfections, and it was like the sun among beings. This is a manifestation of God. So if we start expanding this out, so we have, it's not a biological definition, it's talking about rational and functional capacities of beings, which could also be octopoids, right? And that there has always been within reality a supreme perfect entity, and I would suggest others, that have conscious ideation, they have the power of meditation, they have the power of rational discovery, and this is often the case where certain passages that we're looking at from Abdu'l-Baha, what he's actually talking about is manifestations of God.